पिक्चर्स में वो उसका जो सेकंड सीजन है उसमें वो दिखा रहा है कि उसके बाद वो उन लोग का ऑफिस शट डाउन हो रहा है, ही सेलिंग ऑफ ऑल द रेंटल इक्विपमेंट। वो
हाँ
जा रहा है, ही इज एक्चुअली पिचिंग द ब्रोकर्स जॉब
हाँ
which is actually so
ट्रू
funny.
हाँ
But it's the reality of the entrepreneur because that's the job that you've taken up. So being a specialist, saying that hey, I'm a specialist and I'm an entrepreneur, ये ऑक्सीमोरॉनिश है थोड़ा। आप स्पेशलिस्ट कंप्लीटली नहीं हो सकते हो। ऑफ कोर्स देयर इज वन सिंगल स्ट्रेंथ जो आपका होता है एंड दैट यू अंडरस्टैंड ओवर टाइम। एंड एज एन एंटरप्रेन्योर माय रिकमेंडेशन एंड माय लर्निंग ओवर द लास्ट ईयर इज whatever my single strength is, and even for my co-founder, whatever his single strength is, we only work on that. Whenever there was anything that was asked to me, I was very quick in response. Hey, पूछा है मेरे को आंसर देना है झट से, and I was used to respond really quickly. And a lot of the times, because I'm good in speaking, I used to baffle with bullshit. वो डिबेट में बोलते थे डिबेट्स में जाते थे that if you cannot convince with logic, baffle with bullshit. Doesn't work. Don't try. Content wins at the end of the day.
हेलो गाइस एंड वेलकम टू द येट अनदर पॉडकास्ट एपिसोड। एंड अगर आप इस चैनल के ऊपर नए आए हो, अगर आप हमारा पॉडकास्ट पहली बार देख रहे हो, देन प्लीज़ मेक श्योर यू सब्सक्राइब टू आवर चैनल बिकॉज वी रिलीज पॉडकास्ट एवरी वीक एंड यू विल नेवर मिस एन अपडेट फ्रॉम द स्पॉटलाइट इंडिया। आज के एपिसोड में हमारे साथ है को फाउंडर ऑफ टैगमैंगो दिव्यांशु दमानी, जो एक पब्लिक स्पीकर भी है, जिन्होंने IITs IIMs में भी स्पीचेस दी हुई है। टैगमैंगो में ट्वीच के फाउंडर ने और टिंडर के फाउंडर ने भी इन्वेस्ट किया हुआ है। सो ये पॉडकास्ट एपिसोड को हम लोगों ने 4 टॉपिक्स के ऊपर डिवाइड किया है। फर्स्ट इज वाई प्रोसेस इज मोर इम्पॉर्टेंट देन गोल्स। सेकेंड, वी टॉक्ड अबाउट टैगमैंगोज बिजनेस मॉडल और उनके लीडरशिप स्टाइल के बारे में। थर्ड, वी टॉक्ड अबाउट आप अपनी कम्युनिकेशन स्किल्स को किस तरीके से इम्प्रूव कर सकते हो। एज दिव्यांशु इज़ अ पब्लिक स्पीकर, तो इन्होंने इस टॉपिक के ऊपर बहुत ही बढ़िया टिप्स शेयर की है कि आप अपनी पब्लिक स्पीकिंग स्किल्स को, आप अपनी कम्युनिकेशन स्किल्स को कैसे इम्प्रूव कर सकते हो। आई हाईली रिकमेंड टू नॉट मिस दिस टॉपिक। एंड फोर्थ, वी टॉक्ड अबाउट आर बोथ्स म्यूचुअल लव, बुक रीडिंग और बुक रीडिंग के हैबिट के बारे में, कैसे बुक को रीड किया जा सकता है, क्यों मल्टीपल बुक्स आप रीड कर सकते हो एक मल्टीपल टाइम के ऊपर। सो दिस इज़ अ पॉडकास्ट फिल्ड विथ लॉट ऑफ इंसाइट्स एंड वैल्यू. I highly recommend to watch this episode till the end. And now we are available on all the major audio platform. तो अगर आपको इस पॉडकास्ट एपिसोड का ऑडियो वर्जन सुनना है तो उसका लिंक डिस्क्रिप्शन में अवेलेबल है। सो उस लिंक को क्लिक कर दो and you can listen to the audio version of this podcast. So without wasting any further time, this is Divyanshu Damani on the Spotlight India. Hello guys and welcome to yet another new podcast episode, and today we have with us Divyanshu. Hello Divyanshu, welcome to our show.
Hey man, thanks for having me.
Nice. I directly want to ask this question to you. मुझे पीछे के लिए नहीं रखना है. Like, what are you optimizing for in 2023?
What am I optimizing for in 2023? If I had to answer that in one word, I think process more than goal. Well, it's not one word, it's rather a sentence. I was going to say discipline first, but now I'm going to say process more than goal. So my focus primarily is like have a very, very set routine for 2023. Set up a process for me that I'm not going to break. I'm not looking for motivation this year. I'm just looking for discipline because that effectively will drive all the results. So this year I've started out by waking up at 5 a.m. Then I meditate for like 30-45 minutes. Then I go work out at 6 a.m. By 7:38, after having breakfast and a shower, I'm ready for work. And then by 10 o'clock, I wrap up everything and I'm going to bed. So like, that's something that I'm optimizing for across my life, be it my professional, personal, everything.
Right. And like, how did this awareness came about in you कि नहीं अभी बस थोड़ा प्रोसेस के ऊपर ज़्यादा फोकस करते हैं rather than just going after goals?
So one of the realizations I think I've had over time is so it's primarily that when you're young, you think about everything you want to get done fast. You want to reach there fast. कि जल्दी जल्दी चाहिए सब कुछ A B C D कहीं भी. I want to reach till Z. But one of the realization I've started to have is that I'm extremely young right now, and this is a very very long term game. It's not a short term game at all. That it's over the next 10, 15, 20 years throughout the journey of my life where I have to keep impacting, and of course I'll live longer. But I have to keep impacting and building something else or the other. So I think if I'm laying out a process instead of chasing goals mindlessly, then it just keeps me a lot more grounded, a lot more focused. And that's where last year, effectively, because I was getting overwhelmed by a lot of things that happens in an entrepreneur's life, be it in my professional or my personal life, I thought that this year, let's just focus on that. And I know as time passes, then it automatically starts showing you the results that you want to achieve. So that was where the awareness actually came from.
राइट राइट और जो आपने ये बात बोली ना कि यंगस्टर्स में क्या होता है कि दे वांट थिंग्स रियली फास्ट कि
True.
अभी शुरू हो जाए ये हो जाए सो मैंने ये अपने आप में नोटिस किया है ऐसा कुछ है आई डोंट नो मेरा अपब्रिंगिंग है ऐसा कुछ बट वी एसोसिएट सक्सेस अ लॉट विथ आवर एज कि मतलब 24 का हो गया तो ये तो होना ही चाहिए था यू नो व्हाट आई मीन कि अगर 27 का हो गया 28 का हो गया तो ये तो हो जाना ही चाहिए था ये क्यों नहीं हुआ अगर ये नहीं हुआ है तो देयर इज समथिंग रॉन्ग विथ माय लाइफ so like what do you think about this notion of associating age with success be it later on के स्टेज में ये होता है कि करूँ कि ना करूँ वो सेल्फ डाउट में ही रह जाता है एंड आगे वाली लाइफ में मतलब दो साइड है उसके इफ आई एक्सपेंड ऑन दिस कि
Sure.
लोग ऐसा बोलते हैं कि जल्दी जल्दी चाहिए बट लोग कोई एक साइड से ऐसा भी एक ग्रुप है जो ऐसा सोचता है कि my age is really small I'm very young right now so I may take a chill pill और आराम से करूंगा कोई बात नहीं कुछ हो जाएगा और उसको पता नहीं चलता और सडनली वो हो जाता है 25 मतलब और बड़े साल का जहाँ पे उसने ऑप्टिमाइज किया था कि मजे कर रहा हूँ और मजा बहुत लंबा बढ़ गया then there are people who are putting pressure on themselves from 18 year itself कि अभी 18 साल का हो गया मार्क ज़करबर्ग 21 साल में बिलियनर बन गया था तभी मुझे भी बनना है और उस फिर वो जो हम लोग बात कर रहे हैं कि वी वांट थिंग्स वेरी फास्ट सो व्हाट डू यू थिंक अबाउट दिस नोशन
So it's a very interesting thought. पहले तो of course there are two schools of thought कि पहला जो सोचता है कि hey मुझे सब कुछ अभी चाहिए I am even though apparently according to society I might be young but there are other examples जो इतना कुछ achieve कर चुके हैं at a young age. I can look at Ritesh Agarwal, Mark Zuckerberg in the examples you took. And the other one कि hey I am very young, the same thesis but अभी तो बहुत young है इसलिए अभी पार्टी कर लेते बाद में हमने काम कर लेंगे. I think the way to answer this question is, so firstly for me age is not a function of maturity कि आप कितने mature हो आपके age पे नहीं dependent है. So you might be 25 but you might be more mature than someone who's 60 years old. Age is actually a function of exposure and how much you've put yourself out there to kind of gain that exposure as well. So the thing that so चाहे वो first instance में हो या second instance में हो, both those instances I wouldn't say are wrong, but I think the two things that need to be balanced in both those instances is firstly you should not become so serious in life, be it early on or later on, be it at 15 or 60, that you miss out on living life actually, and enjoying the experiences that you have. And secondly, आपको लाइफ को इतना इजीली भी नहीं लेना है that you don't even think of doing the action that is available for you to do today. So जो responsibility आप ले सकते हो, and that responsibility could be कि आप आज पढ़ाई करो, आप आज काम करो, whatever it is, and using your time constructively, you should not miss out on that opportunity at any age. Again, whatever age it is, आप 5 साल के हो, 15 के हो, 20 के हो, 25 के हो, whatever it is, constructively. And that thought process is important. So I think a balance of both of them. There is no wrong approach, but the way I look at it and the way I have lived my life is exactly that.
What are some of the qualities that you developed in your school time or which is helping you where you are right now also, because a lot of things that we develop, it kind of उसका ripple effect होता ही है.
So I think I developed 3 things in total. It's always good to have 3 things because that works the best in reels. So 3 things that I developed when I was in school. So the first thing that I developed was interpersonal skills. Like I mentioned, ki because I was the one who was always staying back in school, लोगों से बात करना अच्छा लगता था, etc., etc. That built the best quality that is in me, which is I can build relationships with people very well. I can gel with people very well, and that's the most powerful skill set that you need in life, not just in business, in life, whichever stage of life you're in. That is the first thing that was built really, really sharply. The second thing I've already mentioned, it built my confidence in a very big way. All these activities that I did. So kya hota hai na, the more you do, the more exposure you get, and it further leads to more validation, and that leads to confidence. Because some things you're good at and you identify with that, people say, oh, you're good at this, or you're good at this. And because you've done so many different things, you understand what you're actually good at. That brings validation, and that further brings confidence in you that, yeah, I'm actually good at this and I can do this even better. And that confidence, of course, it aligns with your entire life and whatever else you're doing in life. The third thing I think I learned in school very well was looking at the macro instead of the micro. So what I mean by that is I was not always just a student ki ab main academically sirf padhai karunga to sirf padhai karunga, and people become very myopic apne approach mein when you're in school, and you don't get that exposure as well. So I think giving myself that opportunity to find that exposure has helped me in life also live my life in that certain way. So I have a very holistic personality. Now I'm a tech entrepreneur. I started as a creator. I'm into adventure sports. I play the piano and I sing. I do photography. So there's a lot of different aspects to my personality. I'm very deep into spirituality, which further kind of creates, I think, a multifaceted individual. And just sweetness hai life ka, you're actually able to taste that sweetness of life because of it. And that, I think, the roots of it and the foundation of it was built in school. Now that I think about it, yeah.
What do you think? Are you a jack of all and master of one, or do you want to become jack of all and master of some?
As an entrepreneur, you have to be a jack of all, firstly, because you need to have these different skill sets. Jahan pe aapko, you're doing so many things. I don't know if you've seen pictures.
Yeah.
Pictures में वो उसका जो second season है उसमें वो दिखा रहा है कि उसके बाद वो उन लोग का ऑफिस शट डाउन हो रहा है, he's selling off all the rental equipment. वो जा रहा है, he's actually pitching the broker's job, which is actually so funny. But it's the reality of the entrepreneur, because that's the job that you've taken up. So being a specialist, saying that, hey, I'm a specialist and I'm an entrepreneur, ये oxymoronish है थोड़ा. आप specialist completely नहीं हो सकते हो. Of course, there is one single strength जो आपका होता है, and that you understand over time. And as an entrepreneur, my recommendation and my learning over the last year is, whatever my single strength is, and even for my co-founder, whatever his single strength is, we only work on that. And of course, the remainder of the generalist thing we know about, but we find people better than us to fill those spots. So एक strength तो आपको पता ही आपका जो है, that no one can do better than you. So you focus on that, and the rest of it, you become a generalist of sorts, because you're an entrepreneur and you need to know at least the basics of each thing that's happening in your company, and you pass it on to other people who can do it better than you can. So that's the thesis. So jack of all trades and master of one is how I'll answer that question. And आप जो बोल रहे थे कि how you have these different insights when you're doing these multifaceted things, जो भी different चीज आप कर रहे हो, चाहे आप वो piano बजा रहे हो, आप ट्रैक पे हो, etc., कहीं भी हो, but वहां से आपको एक core human insight ऐसा आ जाता है, which is applicable across all fields, everything that you're doing in life, which is very, very true. I'll share one example with you. I was just telling you that I went on a trek. You asked me where I went. I went to Dayara Bugyal. It's in Uttarakhand. So when I was walking up the trek, we were almost reaching the summit, और summit दूर से दिख रहा था कि वो रहा summit. सबसे पहले दूर से देखा तो बोला ये तो पास में लग रहा है. It's nearby because that's the illusion you create. But then you start walking. It was a long walk. It was a 9-kilometer walk that
Okay.
entire day, and it was very chilly as well. We started walking, and then one realization I had is that someone said, don't look at the summit, just look down and keep walking, maybe count your steps or whatever it is. It's the same thing that you can apply in life as well. The moment you keep focusing on the goal, ki arey goal wo hai, goal wo hai, goal wo hai, then you kind of move out of the entire thing of being in the process. And the moment you come back, I'm just focusing on that next step that's coming on the climb, the next step or the next thing that I have to do, that becomes the right way to approach life as well. So again, you get an insight from trekking that becomes so applicable in your life and just improves the entire quality of your life, I think by 100x. If you just, ये तो गीता का सार है, ये तो मेरा सार भी नहीं है, ये तो गीता का सार है. But just doing all these different things gives you such insights which becomes applicable across everything that you do. That's very right.
Beautiful. So like we can pick up some of the learnings from different places जो हमें पता ही है कि वो कहीं ना कहीं पे हमारे में है, but we just forgot it in our journey of building businesses or whatever creation, content creation, all those things, right?
So I'll just add one thing here. I don't know which book I was reading. I think I was reading Swami Vivekananda's book, and he said something very interesting. Now we use, I don't know, 2, 3, 4% of our brain or whatever that particular number is. So 95+% of our brain is being unused. So the possibilities of the mind, we actually have not been able to understand that completely. So he said that everything that's happening in the world, you already know. All your exposure and instances and conversations are just reminders. Now, even if it is for Wright brothers and they're thinking about the aeroplane, it's just a reminder to them in some way or the other. And it's more, I would say, esoteric as a discussion, but it's a reminder to them which gives them ki, oh, ye to aise bhi ho sakta hai. And the mind is just reminded of that fact. And then they start building the aeroplane, or be it for any invention, any discovery, any insight you have in your business or personal life as well. So it becomes very interesting. So the moment you diversify yourself to all these different experiences, you just open up yourself to all of these different suggestions. And any of these suggestions can actually go about making that maybe 1% improvement in your life, which over time compounded can improve your life 300 times. So that was something very powerful I read on this subject itself.
True. The following counter is that लोगों को ना बहुत मतलब in this world where information is very accessible, तो जहाँ वहाँ पे specialized होना लोगों को बोला जा रहा है कि master that one skill, उसके बाद ये हो जाए वो हो जाए. But what people forget in that process is कि अगर आप different, जैसे आपने बोला कि different experiences आप accumulate कर रहे हो, you don't know कि कहाँ पे वो काम आ जाएगा, and suddenly you will find the answer. इस तरीके का. I had previous like podcast में भी बहुत सारे entrepreneurs ऐसा थे कि मैंने ये किया था ना 5 साल पहले, मुझे नहीं पता था कि वो चीज मुझे कैसे काम आ गया, what I'm doing right now. Exactly. It was just a random thing. Right, true.
Yeah, gaining insights from different experiences. I just was reminded of how a lot of these bigger companies that were started. Starbucks was started because the founder, I forgot his name, he used to travel the world, and I think he was in Italy or some place in Western Europe, जहाँ पे उसने coffee try किया in a quaint cafe, and he said that, hey, this looks like a cool idea. Why isn't this available in America? And that's how Starbucks kind of evolved. There are like umpteen examples of such companies that have come up over time, where the founder gets an insight from outside somewhere because of having a really random kind of experience, and then that leads to building the business that you're building. And for me as well, to be honest, when I started out, creating. So my backstory is when I started out creating content, started out as a content creator first, right out of college. So pehle मैं start किया, within a year's time, I built like 200,000 followers on Facebook. I had another page called the Soch Network. उसमें 8 lakh follower हो गए, etc. etc. बहुत सारे views हो गए. I've done speeches, etc. everywhere. I spoke at IIM Ahmedabad when I was 24. So I did all of that. But when I started out as a creator, I had no idea that I wanted to become a creator. The reason I started out to become a creator was for profile building. I was applying to a Harvard and a Stanford, and I said, hey, this is something that's my strength. Let me experiment with 6-7 videos and it'll also add to my profile. And one thing led to the other. And now I'm building a tech company for the creator economy, which is backed by like Y Combinator, the founders of Tinder, Twitch, which is a completely bonkers thing for me because I'm a business student and never thought of building a tech company. So what insight you'll get from doing whatever, you never know. And jahan bhi aap effort dalte ho na, I believe that there is nothing called wasted effort.
Yeah.
Wasted effort in itself is an oxymoron. वो हो ही नहीं सकता. आपका कोई एफर्ट वेस्ट ही नहीं हो सकता क्योंकि बाद में वो आपको कब इंसाइट देगा क्या चीज को लेके. I will say something controversial on your podcast. I don't even know that if trigonometry is wasted effort. क्योंकि लोग बोलते हैं ना कि मैथ्स पढ़ के क्या फायदा हुआ. You never know down the road in what that trigonometry thing might help you. Maybe it just might help you to teach your son or daughter trigonometry down the road, whatever it is.
Yeah.
But that in itself becomes like really, really powerful.
So on the work part, how do you ensure that whatever you are working on, वो एक एक्टिविटी नहीं है, उससे थोड़ा प्रोग्रेस आ रहा है. जैसे कि ये ना बिनी बंसल जो है, सो आई वाज डूइंग अ पॉडकास्ट विद वन ऑफ द फाउंडर, उनके अंदर इन्वेस्टर है बिनी बंसल. तो बिनी बंसल ने ये उनको बोला था कि मैंने उनसे पूछा कि व्हाट यू वांट टू स्टील फ्रॉम बिनी बंसल. तो ही सेड कि फोकस. तो उन्होंने बोला बिनी इज वेरी फोकस्ड, और वो हमेशा बोलते हैं कि वॉट एवर यू आर डूइंग, आर यू डूइंग एन एक्टिविटी और आर यू मेकिंग अ प्रोग्रेस विथ इट. बिकॉज एक्टिविटी तो कर ली, पर उससे प्रोग्रेस हुआ कि नहीं हुआ. अगर प्रोग्रेस नहीं हुआ तो फिर वो एक्टिविटी का कुछ फायदा भी नहीं है.
स्मार्ट थिंग.
हाँ. तो आप प्रोग्रेस वाले कौन से टास्क कर रहे हो उसके ऊपर ऑप्टिमाइज करो. तो लाइक हाउ डू यू डूइंग दिस वेर यू आर मेकिंग अ प्रोग्रेस एंड नॉट जस्ट डूइंग एन एक्टिविटी टू फील योरसेल्फ कि हाँ मैं तो बहुत प्रोडक्टिव हो गया आज.
I believe the answer to this actually lies in the first 10 minutes of the day. The first 10 minutes of the day when you're actually like building your to-do list is when you need to have a lot of self-awareness ki X, Y, Z tasks that I'm doing, what will this X task lead to? What will this Y task lead to? What will this Z task lead to? And one of the other questions that especially as founders जो मैं पूछता हूँ अपने आप को, is this a task that something solely I can do? Or is there someone else in the world that can also do this task? Right? Again, I'm trying to connect that to my core competency. So अगर ये सिर्फ टास्क मेरा core competency के bracket में आता है तो मैं वो टास्क करूंगा, because then that I know will automatically lead to progress for within the company, for my professional life, or whatever it is. If that falls out of it, and I think that someone else can do it better than I can, then I'll possibly pass on that job, if I have those resources, of course, to someone else to do it. And that first 10 minutes, when you're planning the day and your task list and the first 3 most important things to be done, that will effectively decide whether you're making progress or you're not, you're just doing a task for the sake of it. So awareness at that point is what will give you that answer.
You are the leader of the company and it trickle downs from you. आपकी एनर्जी भी यू नो योर विस्पर्स बिकम स्क्रीम्स जो बोलते हैं लीडर्स के बारे में. हाँ. तो लाइक हाउ डू यू एंश्योर व्हेन यू आर हैविंग अ बैड डे इट डज नॉट अफेक्ट योर टीम अ लॉट, कि आपका बुरा दिन जा रहा है बट योर टीम यू नो शुड रिमेन फोकस्ड एंड दे शुड बी ऑन द पॉजिटिव फ्रंट. तो वो कैसे आप फिर एंश्योर करते हो कि खराब दिन है बट आई डोंट वांट टू ट्रिकल इट डाउन टू those guys?
Great question. So there are 2 parts to it. As a founder, the first part is you have to make yourself, I would say the word is having equanimity. अगर आपके बहुत बड़े challenges भी आ रहे हैं या whatever wins that you're also having, you need to approach both the same things with the same amount of expression. वो बोलते हैं ना stoic होते हैं लोग कि हाँ सही है, जीत गए, सही है, good, let's get back to work. अच्छा हार रहे हैं, कोई बात नहीं, let's get back to work. That's the only thing. It's the athlete kind of mentality as well. And firstly, you have to inculcate that yourself within yourself. And one of the things जो मुझे बहुत help किया है, one of the biggest things that I kind of attribute my success to is meditating every day. I've been meditating for the last 5-6 years. There is a spiritual bent of things. वहाँ से you can gain a lot of these learnings. And if you're again comes back to our first point in terms of what we're optimizing for 2023, process more than goal. We're focused on the process. अपने को पता है next day क्या करना है. It's not goal रहता तो कि अरे और क्या करे कुछ नहीं है, वही next day same चीज करना है, whatever the day is. So having that equanimity and training your mind towards having that equanimity is the first thing that you do. This is more on a personal level. The second thing in terms of interaction with your team. So first, अगर सही है तो it will help you balance things better and balance your own emotions and moods better. The second thing in terms of interacting with the team, the baggage of the founder is that you'll always have to put a positive front. That's the baggage of the founder. कुछ भी हो रहा है, even in pictures, I just saw the pictures show that, so I have a lot of recalls from there, and the founder has to put up a positive front come what may, whatever it is. So again, there is the word, the founder has to have an optimistic, वो छोटा में वो होता है ना invisible, जो PSY करके words होते हैं and P silent होता है. So यहाँ पे भी founder का optimistic silent होता है. So he has to show an optimistic thing to his team, because they're all looking up to him or her, whoever that founder is or the leader is. So come what may, you have to bring up with a smile, tell them what the thing is to be done and move on. That's it.
Then how do you remind yourself to not go into that self-pity mode? Because sometimes it's very hard to not go into that direction. वो mind तुमको ले जाता है कि नहीं यार ना दिव्यांशु, रुक, कोई बात नहीं, वो संभाल लेगा उस तरीके का, and we just self pity में चले जाते हैं. So how do you ensure? तो वो फिर कैसे नहीं करते उस टाइम पे?
सेल्फ पिटी कैसे नहीं करते?
हाँ, उस दौरान कि जहाँ पे
उस दौरान पे कि जब कुछ चल नहीं रहा है तो बोल रहे अरे मेरा लाइफ खराब है, अरे देखो ये कस्टमर छोड़ के चला दिया, अरे ये इन्वेस्टर कंफर्म किया था फिर भी पैसे नहीं दे रहा है, क्या हो रहा है ये, टीम वाला मेंबर गाली दे रहा है फाउंडर को, क्या हो रहा है ये सब? हाउ डू यू नॉट सेल्फ पिटी योरसेल्फ एज अ फाउंडर? As a founder, and this is something that I talk about the most to other founders as well, and I'm also on my learning curve as a founder myself, is that P0 हमारे tech sprints में होता है P0, P1, P2, which is priority 0, priority 1, priority 2. P0, or the first priority for a founder is to take care of your own self, which is your physical state, your mental state, everything, every aspect of your own self. Because if you take care of your own self, then only can you take care of anything else. So it is your responsibility as a founder to not go into that self-pity mode. And whatever learnings are out there, to consume that so that you can inculcate that in your life. And this is what I talked about when it comes to process. And a lot of these high achievers will tell you about this. ये सिर्फ मेरा बोला हुआ नहीं है. A lot of these high achievers, and that's where I take my learnings from. And I try to kind of inculcate that with my life. And I see those. So 3 things if you do. One is a workout. Second is meditation. And third is eating right. Food has such a big impact on our lives. It's not even funny. Like sugar is one of the biggest drugs that no one talks about. I'm not a very big expert on that, but I know from experience how much it changes my moods. So if I just do these 3 things, I'm always in control of this, the monkey. And if I'm in control of the monkey, then I don't really let myself go into that self-pity mode. Even if I do go, then I'm able to come out of it very, very quickly, because next day is the process. That's it.
Right. True. On the Tagmango front, आपने क्या सोच के रखा है इस साल कि this is where we want to reach this year? मतलब आपने बोला कि प्रोसेस आप ऑप्टिमाइज कर रहे हो, बट स्टिल यू विल हैव अ पिक्चर इन योर माइंड कि यहाँ तक पहुंच सकते हैं इन प्रोसेसेस के साथ। तो वो क्या है कि कौन से स्टेज पे पहुंचना है, क्या अचीव करना है इस साल?
So for Tagmango, for context for all of your viewers as well, is basically हम लोग ऑनलाइन दुकान खड़ा करते हैं, एंड इन दैट ऑनलाइन दुकान कोई भी अपना टाइप का डिजिटल प्रोडक्ट बेच सकता है करंटली। सो चाहे वो वर्कशॉप हो, कोर्स हो, कंसल्टेशन हो, कम्युनिटी हो, वट एवर फॉर्मेट they'd like to monetize. I call it building the universe for the creator. And effectively, क्योंकि everyone's now becoming a creator. Anyone with even a single follower on the internet is a creator in their own right. So everyone will possibly have these monetized formulas for their own selves as side hustles plus main businesses too. So that's for context for everyone who's watching. For Tagmango, this year, the entire focus is international expansion. So we're moving out with the business. We have a stronghold in the India market, but we are exploring outside markets right now and acquiring customers from there. And we've internal targets for that. Primary reason is that SaaS from India for the world has been the most profitable because India is still getting up there to purchase software and invest in software. It's getting there. Over the next 5 years, it'll be much more mature, and we'll keep capturing the India market. But focusing on large scale go-to-market strategies for international audiences. So that's the primary focus. And of course, there are internal goals that we plan to achieve through the same.
मुझे ये आपसे सवाल पूछना ही था, बिकॉज एज अ सैस प्लेटफॉर्म, तो इंडिया में सब मतलब क्रिएटर साइड पे बात करूँ, प्रीमियर प्रो का भी वो लोग क्रैक वर्जन ही ढूंढते हैं, राइट? एंड इट्स काइंड ऑफ अ सैस प्रोडक्ट ओनली, कि जहाँ पे आप एडिटिंग आप ऑप्टिमाइज कर सकते हो, बट पीपल फाइंड दिस काइंड ऑफ थिंग कि जहाँ पे उनको पैसा ना देना पड़े। मतलब कैनवा के लिए भी दे विल फाइंड सम ऑफ द थिंग कि जहाँ पे वो 1 ईयर का उनका फ्री हो जाए, फिर दे विल स्टार्ट डूइंग इट ऐसा। सो लाइक उस फ्रंट पे क्या डिफिकल्टी आती है जहाँ पे ऑडियंसेस का थिंकिंग ही ऐसा है कि मुझे जितना फ्री मिले ऑन द सॉफ्टवेयर साइड ऑफ थिंग्स मैं उतना कैप्चर कर लूँ? बिकॉज आप यूट्यूब पे भी देखोगे, यूट्यूब प्रीमियम बहुत कम लोगों के पास है इंडिया के अंदर।
Correct.
बिकॉज
क्या numbers? What's the latest numbers for YouTube Premium? Do you know that?
आई डोंट नो टू बी वेरी ऑनेस्ट, बट मैंने कोको एफएम के फाउंडर के साथ बात की थी ना, तो उन्होंने ये एक चीज बहुत अच्छी बोली थी कि इंडिया में कोई कन्वीनियंस के लिए पे नहीं करता कि ओहो स्पॉटिफाई ने क्या ऐप बना दिया, मैं पे कर देता हूँ चलो। दे विल लिसन टू इट। इंडिया में पीपल पे फॉर एक्सक्लूसिविटी इन टर्म्स ऑफ कंटेंट साइड के ऊपर, कि एक्सक्लूसिवली सिर्फ इसी के ऊपर है, देन दे हैव नो चॉइस, देन दे आर रेडी टू पे कि हाँ ले ले नेटफ्लिक्स 500 रुपए मेरे, पर मुझे ये देखना है तेरे के ऊपर बिकॉज इट विल गिव मी वैल्यू। तो दे प्ले फॉर एक्सक्लूसिविटी, उन्होंने ऐसा बोला था। तो लाइक व्हाट्स योर ऑब्जर्वेशन ऑन दिस अबाउट पीपल बाइंग योर सर्विसेज? तो उसके ऊपर कोर फंड क्या इनसाइट्स मिले आपको?
So how I'll break this down is in two parts. The first one is if you look at our customer is the creator, or if creator charges their audience, and the audience pays the creator, and we make a money in that entire transaction. So we take a commission off of it. The first part in terms of is the creator willing to pay for the software? Because we have a model which is still percentage revenue share and not upfront, वो एक फिर भी easier model हो जाता है for the India market to crack. But as you keep on scaling as a company, you kind of have to figure out other models with bigger creators. The challenge still lies. A lot of them says कि मैं खुद से कर लूंगा, मैं Zoom ले लूंगा, Google Meet पे कर लूंगा, and then that's for the smaller creators. But as you kind of expand, and our product is more relevant for people who want to scale, उन लोग के लिए बहुत ज़्यादा relevant हो जाता है because we give a lot of insights. There's so many integrations. It makes your life a lot easier. For example, a finance with Sharan who gets 5,000 students uses Tagmango. And Akshat, who has 1.5 million, he does a lot of revenue, uses Tagmango. So those are the kind of creators जिनके लिए बहुत ज़्यादा relevant हो जाता है because all these things get streamlined, and at scale it becomes very difficult to manage अगर आप scale पे कर रहे हो. So that is who the ideal customer segment for us is. The challenge lies, yes, software के लिए लोग ढूंढते हैं कि ये कर ले, वो कर ले, ये hack, वो hack. But I think it's still improving in terms of willingness to pay for software. So the bigger ones I will only treat as a B2B play, a creator play per se. The second bit is the customer to play, because a large bent is on the education side कि मैं code सीखना चाहता हूँ, workshop सीखना चाहता हूँ on the platform. Those are the main use cases of the platform currently. So वो education के लिए India is ready to pay, because I mean it's India, right? The biggest tech platform is from India. The middle class, the only exit for the middle class is education as the system that they're looking for. So that becomes a big piece of the pie as well. And wahan se we do see payments kind of flowing in, but for anything other than education, we've not seen a lot of कि मैं सिर्फ exclusive content के लिए pay करूँ कोई creator का. We've not seen a lot of movement there. It's picking up. One insight is that I feel that as Gen Zs grow up and they start making their own money, because they are born and brought up on content, their willingness to pay for content will be much, much higher. So that will be an interesting kind of insight to see. There's a creator on our platform that's testing out a Patreon-like model, Samdish Bhatia, which is, hey, come and support me in building this YouTube channel and company. He's made a significant amount of money in months itself. Of course, we have the backend data. It's a significant amount of money, which becomes like a really interesting opportunity for creators to think that way कि क्या मैं अपना exclusive content या exclusive community को भी monetize कर सकता हूँ या कर सकती हूँ. And those experiments will start kind of playing out a lot more in the India context, and platforms like ours, which help on such subscription-based models, will be the most powerful.
Yeah. समदीश वाला मुझे आपसे बात करनी थी इस पॉडकास्ट के अंदर, बिकॉज व्हेन ही स्टार्टेड हिज सेकंड चैनल अभी, यू नो, एंड ही इज कंप्लीटली ऑन हिज ओन. अभी कोई चैनल का बैकअप नहीं है, बिकॉज ही वाज ओनली द फेस स्कूप अप में. सो व्हेन आई सॉ द नंबर्स दैट ही पुट, एंड मुझे करना था बिकॉज आई लाइक समदीश अ लॉट, कि आई जस्ट वांट टू, वॉट एवर माई कैपेसिटीज, आई जस्ट वांट टू कंट्रीब्यूट टू हिम कि ये है. बट व्हेन आई वेंट देयर, लाइक ऑल द एडिटिंग के लिए, वीडियोग्राफी के लिए, वो सब कुछ फुल था कि हो गया, टारगेट अचीव्ड हमारा. आई एम लाइक क्रेजी डूड. ये लोग एंड ही डिड नॉट हैव, हाँ, 1 million 2 million 5 million ऐसा कुछ भी नहीं है उसका. तब तक 3-4 वीडियो ही तब तक आए थे. एंड आई एम लाइक क्रेजी शिट, क्रेजी है यार. हाँ, कि उसका जो
that talks about एकदम that talks about cult of audience. And if someone really likes you and you're doing good work,
हाँ,
आप अच्छा काम कर रहे हो in terms of value creation, and whatever format of that value creation can be, right, the audience will come and support you if you're doing good work. And especially the younger janta, we've seen the data, the younger janta will come and support you, because the amount he's asking for is not a lot, and they want to also help him in the entire process of building what he's building. So I think that's one of the case studies which is the most powerful for our company, especially going forward, because we started out testing Patreon for India. Patreon is this, for context, ये membership driven site है, which is a $4 billion company, जहाँ पे creators membership sites बनाते हैं, and then fans can come and support them for the same. India में they won't support them per se, because Indians are not very altruistic. But India में if you're providing them extra value, be it in the form of, hey, आप आओ मेरे साथ लाइव स्ट्रीम्स करेंगे हमारे हर महीना में एक बार, दिस विल बी एन एक्सक्लूसिव कम्युनिटी जहां मैं बिहाइंड द सीन्स डालूंगा जो कहीं अवेलेबल नहीं है. इन दिस कम्युनिटी all the top fans will also be able to interact with each other. All those things will become a lot more popular down the road, and that's one of the things that we are betting big on.
Yeah. And one of my question is कि when I went through your website, there is, you know, Tagmango as Teachable, Tagmango as Patreon, वैसे 5-6 लिखे हुए हैं. So like why you guys are not optimizing for any one thing, like let's say Patreon kind of model, and for India kind of model, that is, तो वो आप क्यों नहीं कर रहे हो, एंड यू आर गोइंग फॉर मल्टीपल फॉर्मेट, लाइक एक साइज प्रोडक्ट है आपका. मैंने ये भी देखा कि लैंडिंग पेज भी आप प्रोवाइड करके देते हो, एंड देयर आर मल्टीपल सर्विसेज दैट यू गाइस प्रोवाइड. सो व्हाई यू डिसाइडेड टू गो ऑन दैट पाथ?
The learning over time for us was that creators do need a one-stop shop. Okay. That was the learning over time. They don't want to go through different softwares to manage all of these different things. So now, for example, to use Instagram, of course, I have to use editing tools, etc. But all of that's also been added to Instagram as well. I might get a better Instagram editing tool outside, but a lot of creators are using the inbuilt feature to now build content from it, right? So even in terms of monetization and building their respective communities, we thought that having all these different features, jahan the creator gets an opportunity to sell any kind of digital product, they get a social feed, they can live stream, they can put pre-recorded content in a structured format, in a course format. They can have chat communities as well instead of taking all of that to a Slack or a WhatsApp or a Discord, jahan wo Slack communities mein dal rahe. And they can do marketing automations from there as well. So send emails, WhatsApp notifications, create coupon codes, everything in terms of marketing automation from a singular spot itself. That's what they want. And now all of this we provide in a white label format. कि आपका दुकान हम खड़ा करके दे रहे हैं. And the plan is कि एक creator का अगर हम दुकान बना लेते हैं, that exists for the next 10 years for us. And the creator, as they grow, and we will push the creator to grow as well, and they build on different products. बाद में we will activate physical products as well on the platform. कि आप t-shirt भी बेचना, अभी we are already doing Shopify integrations, t-shirt बेचना चाहते हो, mic बेचना चाहते हो, whatever it is. We become the singular one-stop shop through which you can use all of that. And you don't have to go through these different players to do it. So that was the thinking over time. It was not that first day में हमें insight आया. Of course, this is where we wanted to be since the beginning. We started out with one, then we kept on building. We further got the insight, and then we reached this place now that we have a super robust tech product that can take any global player as well in our space. And I'm particularly very excited about the international market.
राइट सो मतलब आप जो बोल रहे हो उससे हो जाएगा, जैसे आपने बोला कि वो 10 साल के लिए फिर वो उसके लिए दुकान खड़ी हो गई, सो उसे ये हो जाएगा कि स्विचिंग कॉस्ट बहुत हाई हो जाएगा उसके लिए.
Correct.
पीपल गेट सो कंफ्यूज्ड इन प्लानिंग कि क्वार्टरली प्लानिंग है ऐसा करके. सो आई जस्ट वांट टू नो, आई सॉ सम ऑफ द ट्वीट्स कि यू गाइस प्लान स्प्रिंट्स quarterly ऐसा करके. So how do you plan one sprint? What you guys do at Tagmango to plan one sprint कि ये एक sprint है. आप sprint का थोड़ा process समझा सकते हो कि किस तरीके से plan होता है वो?
So sprints are on the tech side.
हाँ.
Sprints are focused. I don't know. We are on the 30th odd sprint right now. Every sprint has a name that we give to it, or उसको fancy बनाने के लिए. And then for each of those sprints, there are certain tasks list for that sprint that is allocated amongst the team. That by the end of these 3 weeks, this is where we are reaching, and everyone is aware. And then updates keep coming on the group. इससे क्या होता है? Then the entire company is aligned towards key process, matlab ki what are we building towards in terms of product for this particular month. So everyone can have a conversation on the tech side. So task list ho gaya, and then there is daily updates, and then there is a weekly call in which every update is written. So we get all those updates ki kya movement ho raha hai, if there's a delay in anything or anything as such. That's how we plan out sprints. Everyone has clarity because of that. This is primarily on the tech side. On the non-tech side is more fluid. On the acquisition bit, of course, there are monthly targets that we set in terms of number of creators to get and revenue to be availed from it. So those are targets that we set on a monthly basis and a quarterly basis. That this is the quarter goal, this is the month goal, and these are the steps to be followed, which has been like created over time. And there are certain things that need to be done, an inbound funnel and outbound funnel, and those are things that the team member allocates their time on. The retention bit, which is customer success, कि हम आपके साथ काम करेंगे. The retention bit again has KPIs, both monthly and quarterly. That one is how many creators were activated. Previous creators, if they've left the platform, how many of them were activated, and what is the revenue commissions that we've been able to garner for the month and the quarter. Again, it's basic KPI driven activities. Marketing is relatively fluid. Marketing becomes open-ended a lot of the times. We have some goals that we set, maybe let's say social media metrics that we need to attain through a certain frequency of time. But it's more campaign driven. Okay, this is the campaign that we're running in this month. What are some of the things? Week 1, ABCD things, week 2, ABCD things. And that's how we kind of align the entire process within the company across teams.
True. So, ये बहुत मतलब सेल्फिश क्वेश्चन ही है, बट आई नो कि लॉट ऑफ पीपल स्ट्रगल विद डूइंग अ क्वार्टरली प्लानिंग. चलो भूल जाओ कि ईयरली प्लानिंग है, बट हाउ डू यू प्लान अ क्वार्टर कि 100 डे या 90 डे प्लानिंग में क्या क्या इंश्योर करे कि ये चीज होनी चाहिए, आपने जो बोली. बट इफ वी हैव टू ब्रेक इट डाउन, लेट्स से कि कोई एजेंसी ओनर है या तो फिर कोई मार्केटिंग एजेंसी चला रहा है, तो उसके हिसाब से आप उसके लिए क्या यूज केस दे सकते हो, क्या होना चाहिए कि ये 90 डेज इस तरीके से इफेक्टिवली आप प्लान कर सकते हो.
So quarterly planning for a marketing agency, you want insight and a framework on that, right?
हाँ हाँ.
What are the do you run a marketing agency?
Yeah, sort of.
Okay, what are the different goals that you set for yourself on
So
whatever frequency?
So right now, in this first 3 months, like the main objective is to earn this much amount of money. एंड फिर उसके बाद से वी विल प्लान कि उसके लिए पहुंचने के लिए 3 महीने में कहाँ जाना चाहिए. बट आई डोंट नो इफ दिस इज द राइट फ्रेमवर्क और नॉट, बिकॉज वी आर लुकिंग फॉर एक्टिवली हायर पीपल ऑल्सो. वी वॉन्ट टू क्रिएट 6-7 पीपल्स टीम ऑल्सो, क्योंकि जहाँ पे काम डेलीगेट होता जाए. बिकॉज आई ऑल्सो वॉन्ट टू गो हार्ड ऑन पॉडकास्टिंग साइड, एंड आई वॉन्ट टू डू 1 or 2 पॉडकास्ट अ वीक, और थोड़ा उसके ऊपर भी काम करना है. And rest of the team then that can work on brand side, all those things. So on that part मुझे लग रहा है कि I should I optimize for money or should I optimize for anything else?
Got it. So I think the way to break it down is to first look at what are the different functions within the team that you're looking to get. For a marketing agency, one is a business development guy who will drive sales for you. Second is a customer success person जो client से बात करेगा उसका campaign execute करने में. Third is a design team, video editing, graphic designing, content and the creative team overall. Those are the 3 teams primarily that you have in a marketing agency. You do it result based and you do it effort based, right? So you create results for them that so if you don't have a team, then the 4th function is the HR that you have to do, where you have to hire those resources. That's a different thing that you'll have to put in and allocate time to, right? Now on a quarterly basis, first you create result based goals that, okay, I am at X, I want to reach 3X by, let's say, March end. Now that's a goal that you've set. In order to reach 3X, let's say 3 lakhs of revenue, one client pays me 30,000 rupees. I need 10 clients. I currently have 3, right? So you need 6 more clients. So those are effort based. Now, those are result based. Now, in order to reach those clients, 6 clients, what needs to be done, right? So then you say that if I reach out to 100 people in total, out of that, I get a 2% conversion. So 2 people get converted. Now you have a framework to it. 2 people get converted. Okay. Now, in order for me to convert 7 more people or 8 more people, I need to basically reach out to 400 people. How do I reach out to 400 people? Now that comes to the BD guy's role. That if I hire one person, I say that you have to, in this month, reach out to 200 people. That is about 10 people a day. And then start up conversations with them. You've had 2 people in that. And the effort that you'll get, the effort driven thing that you're providing them is कि 10 लोग को आपको reach out करना है हर दिन का, which are new reach outs. And this is not just कि मैं message कर दिया LinkedIn में, but to touch base with them. The tough thing, but whatever those numbers are. So that's how you drive the BD thing. Once that drives success, then it comes on to customer success. Customer success, you can set a goal. Hey, I'm making 30,000 from this particular client. How can we make it 50,000? I'll ask the customer success team to think of ideas in terms of how do we make it. Can you add a layer of packaging to it? Whatever those things are. I can say I'm video bhi de denge, I'm creative bhi de denge, etc. For a marketing agency overall. I've never run one, but this is how I think they would think. And that's the thing. And then you again based so basically if you may want to make 50,000, so you're making 1.5 lakhs from them overall, from those 3 clients itself. And that's the customer successes job. And then you of course break it down even further. You can even break it down to the process that if it is a big client, then you're touching base with them once in a week or twice in a week or whatever it is. Or you have, that's the job of the customer success. So you further kind of build that process for them. So they further keep on executing on it and keep building relationships. Third thing is the creative team. It entirely depends on the work that's coming in. And if there is not enough work, then get the creative team to just put out as much content as you can on your own social media so that you can get more attractive for other clients that are coming in. So result based, effort based. Effort based is something that you provide as a framework. That's not what they have to achieve. They should achieve it, but this is what's needed. हम आपको बोल रहे हैं 10 जन आप 50 जन को reach out करो, that's entirely your lookout. This is where you have to reach. This is a framework that you should reach. If you do that, then it makes sense that yes, you did execute well, but for some reason or the other, it did not work out. If you didn't do that as well, and you say ki results nahi aaye, sir, then there is some gap overall in your performance. So then you can have a conversation like that. So that's how you go about thinking about it.
Good. Yeah. अब थोड़ा और क्लैरिटी मुझे मिला कि हाँ इस तरीके से डेफिनेटली जाना चाहिए. राइट राइट. सो नाउ आई वांट टू आस्क यू दिस दैट जैसे आपने बोला कि पब्लिक रिलेशनशिप इज वन ऑफ द की स्किल इन लाइफ, यू नो, ऑल्सो नॉट ओनली जस्ट प्रोफेशनल साइड ऑफ थिंग्स. इस तरीके के लाइक if you have to, you know, layman को समझाना होता है कि public relationship को इस तरीके से approach करो, because in India what people do is, and what my observation is कि वो लोग पहली डेट पे जा रहे हैं. लेट्स से डेट का एक एग्जांपल ले लेते हैं, राइट, कि where they are going on a date, उनका पहली डेट से हाई एक्सपेक्टेशंस है कि सब कुछ ये हो जाना चाहिए, ये हो जाए, and they hard sell themselves in the first go only, and it bombs. और वो सामने लोगों को पता चलता है कि ये हार्ड सेल कर रहा है, और फिर वो बेचारा इंसान या वो जो लड़कियां लड़की वो अच्छे है, स्टिल यू नो वो कन्वे नहीं हो पाता सामने वाले को, और सामने वाले को लगता है कि यार ही इज ट्राइंग वेरी हार्ड on like impressing me or whatever it is. So like how do they avoid this in you know first meeting or in sort of thing, and कैसे फिर वो if they are approaching people, how they should you know approach people in the first place?
So your question is in context to networking in some sense, right? Networking plus building relationship with people, all of that. How do you go about it? What are some of the best ways to go about it? I think 2 points. I can think of 2 points which are very, very powerful. 3 points wheels mein kaam hota hai, isliye 3 I was searching, but two works as well. So if you're looking to build relations with anyone, अगर आपको network करना है किसी के साथ अच्छा relationship बनाना है, and the first time you're meeting, be it a guy or a girl, an investor, a stakeholder, कोई भी हो, the first thing is the mindset that you approach it with. Is the mindset should be, how can I create value here? And not go with the mindset ki, what can I ask from here? Usually we go with the mindset ki, अरे ये बहुत बड़ा investor है, इससे मेरे को बात करना चाहिए, and possibly build a connection because I can ask them ABCD things, whatever it is. But no, the first thing should be, how can I go about creating value in here? And that's been one of the biggest things that's helped me in my life. There's one of the biggest content creators in the country. I won't name him. Yesterday only I was taking an example. He's the biggest right now, not in terms of numbers, but in terms of respect. I remember जब reels निकला था, I'd emailed him. I was connected with him. I'd emailed him and told him कि आपको reels बनाना चाहिए because you are very, very engaging and it is giving a lot of organic growth right now. This is 2020, and post reels he started making reels. He blew up because of that, and there was no ask attached to it. I had no ask. I said कि hey, I like your content. I think आपको ये बनाना चाहिए. And now we've got a really strong relation. He helps us in a lot of things also within the company too, right? So value and not ask. The second thing is when you're going into building a relationship, remove all judgments when you're getting into it. आप जैसी फर्स्ट डे में चेहरा देख के किसी को जज कर लेते हो, सबसे खराब हालत है हम लोग का. मतलब humans have a really bad tendency कि एयरपोर्ट में कोई बाजू में बैठा है, we are just judging them on the basis of how they look or how they're presenting themselves. Those are nuances, but that is not the person. It's very important. आप जब वो baggage अपने दिमाग से निकाल के हटा दोगे, and you'll open yourself to the opportunity of building a relationship in whatever format that relationship is, that will become a successful relationship. Now, if you judge them that, hey, ये XYZ caste से है और XYZ background से है, and they will have a certain outlook to life which I've already assumed without having context, then you've failed. So that's another extremely important thing, especially when you're thinking about building any kind of relationship with any person.
Yeah. And if I may, I want to add one more thing also, which
Please.
has helped me a lot, because after doing podcasting, one thing I have realized it is this कि इंडिया में लोग अपने बोलने का टाइम ढूंढते हैं कि मैं कब बोलूं, बट
Very
द
important.
मेन मैजिक इज लिसन केयरफुली.
Beautiful. I
आप
love it.
आप जब अच्छी तरीके से सुनते हो, वो ऑटोमेटिकली जब आप बोलोगे वो अच्छा ही साउंड करेगा. मतलब अच्छा साउंड
एकदम.
नहीं करे, इट विल ऐड सम वैल्यू, और एक क्यूरियोसिटी, एक स्पार्क होगी आपके अंदर ही. बिकॉज यू आर हाफ लिसनिंग, दे वांट टू. ये जेडा कृष्णमूर्ति का ना एक इंसिडेंट था, आई वांट टू शेयर दिस. सो बिकॉज ही इज बिग इन वेस्ट बंगाल, एंड वो वहां पे उनका एक सेमिनार था, तो बहुत लोग जाते थे पहले. And in middle of his seminar, one person stand up, and I'm like, what? I have a question. Then Jira Krishnamurti says, no, you don't have. तो वो बोलता है कि no, I have a question. No, you don't have a question. क्यों? Then he says कि you don't want to ask me a question, you just want your opinion to be heard by me. You just want to.
Fascinating.
हाँ, आपको सिर्फ ऐसा दिखाना है कि मैंने आपको कुछ बोला. दैट्स इट. यू डोंट हैव अ क्वेश्चन इन जनरल. आपको क्यूरियोसिटी से कुछ क्वेश्चन नहीं जानना है. सो द थिंग विद पीपल इज कि दे वांट टू जस्ट, क्योंकि उनको ऐसा लगता है कि बोल के ही वैल्यू क्रिएट हो रही है. आप अच्छी तरीके से सुन रहे हो, उसके एक अच्छा थॉट निकलेगा. एंड देन सो आई थिंक लिसनिंग इज ऑल्सो वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट इन बिल्डिंग पब्लिक रिलेशनशिप. एंड वो
100%.
पीपल फील रिस्पेक्ट कि इसने अच्छे तरीके से सुना मेरी बात को, उसने इंटरप्ट मुझे नहीं किया. एंड दे ऑल्सो, एंड दे यू नो दे गो लिटिल बिट एक्स्ट्रा माइल. दे अंडरस्टूड कि हाँ, इसने अच्छे तरीके से सुन रहा है मुझे. एंड देन दे फील लिटिल बिट मोर रिस्पेक्टफुल कि हाँ ठीक है, आई कैन गिव देम. हाँ, ट्रू. सो
नहीं, मतलब ये जो तुम पॉइंट बोले इन टर्म्स ऑफ लिसनिंग, आई थिंक इट्स अ वेरी वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट पॉइंट. एंड्रू कार्नेगी करके एक बहुत बड़े, he would be one of the richest people in the world, keeping in mind just $1 billion. And he said there was this one poem that he was really inspired by in terms of listening, and it was called a wise old owl, and that was the name of the poem. बच्चे लोग के लिए poem है. And the poem goes this way. I've opened it on Wikipedia. It's like, a wise old owl lived in an oak. The more he saw, the less he spoke. The less he spoke, the more he heard. Now, wasn't he a wise old bird? And it was fascinating for me to just listen to that. One of the most richest and wealthiest and successful people in the world. And he says that I just want to talk as less as I can, so that the more he, yeah, the less he spoke, the more he heard. And that's what tells the wise old bird. And I think that's how it highlights the importance of us listening as well. So thanks for sharing that, man.
Yeah. So because where I was leading with this is कि I am seeing in this conversation you are taking a time in articulating your answers. So like, what are the benefits of articulating your thoughts, and how one can? There are two questions of it. Let's address first. How can you make an habit of articulating your thoughts, and then what are the benefits of it?
So पहले क्या था ना, whenever there was anything that was asked to me, I was very quick in response. And hey, वो पूछा है मेरे को आंसर देना है झट से, and I was used to respond really quickly. And a lot of the times, because I'm good in speaking, I used to baffle with bullshit. वो डिबेट में बोलते थे, डिबेट्स में जाते थे that if you cannot convince with logic, baffle with bullshit. Doesn't work. Don't try. Content wins at the end of the day. And over time I realized that, and because and this is since school time, and I always wanted to become a lot more thoughtful in terms of what I'm sharing, and a lot more succinct कि जितना छोटा में मैं शेयर कर सकता हूँ, that is lesser use of my energy, that is lesser use of the time of the person who's consuming, but the same information has been conveyed. It's beneficial for the whole world in a way, if you're more succinct. And that became one of my superpowers over time. And I made sure voluntarily I worked on it that koi bhi mere ko sawal puchta hai, and this is both for me and my co-founder, we wait first, we think about what the question is, and then we answer it after having thought of what the answer is in our brain and then conveying it. फास्ट बोल के कोई वाइजर नहीं साउंड करने वाला है, लेट बोल के कोई वाइजर नहीं साउंड करने वाला है. द बेटर यू आर्टिकुलेट, the faster you will grow. It's as simple as that. And I'll share an anecdote here. So Y Combinator CEO, Y Combinator, the world's biggest startup accelerator, his CEO, Michael Siebel, he is one of the people that both Hassan and I, we look up to a lot. Like, we look up to him a lot. And he's so succinct. When you ask him a question, if I take 10 seconds, he will take, let's say, 20 seconds to answer. He will think about the question and he will say 2 lines. And those 2 lines will be so impactful. It comes with so much experience and exposure that it will completely change how we were thinking about that problem statement, but in 2 lines itself. And then he stops and we're waiting कि वो आगे कुछ बोलेंगे, but वो आगे नहीं बोलते. And that's the magic that you can create by being succinct.
And like वो अगर articulating अगर thoughts, because thoughts में clarity होनी चाहिए, वो clarity आएगी धीरे धीरे, वो बढ़ेगा. And you are not just wandering with while you are talking. So वो कैसे ensure किया, like do you write, उससे ज़्यादा clarity आती है, और you know you have practiced this enough time you have, but उसके अलावा what are some of the things that you do कि जहाँ पे articulation of thoughts आ ही जाता है?
Articulation of thoughts 3 चीज से आता है. The first one that you mentioned, which is writing. So I journal every single day. I journal, I write. I think that's one of my strong points. So jitna मैं लिखता हूँ, I kind of convey everything on that, and that helps me think in terms of clarity. Second is, of course, exposure. Because I've been on so many calls, I've interacted with so many people over time, it of course improves. So nothing can beat experience. The third thing, what you can do it from today, is put a structure to it, right? A lot of the times people think in paragraphs. If you instead think in numbers, it becomes a lot more structured. Okay, so 3 points. Okay, so 2 points. Okay, so 1 point. So once you structure it out, it's much more easily consumable for the listener. Okay, ye 3 point hai. And it's much more easily conveyed by you, and your brain has more clarity about it. So these are the 3 ways you can kind of further get clarity on articulation of your thoughts.
True. And you know, because you have been a keynote speaker, आप public speaking आपने बहुत किया है, you have went to IIMs, IITs उसकी जगह पे, and you have addressed and full pack auditoriums also. So
correct.
उसकी वजह से आपको कुछ ना कुछ तो मालूम होगा ही, because I want to ask you this from a podcasting perspective, because I also has to gauge कि guest कहाँ पे जा रहा है, what he is feeling right now. वो back of the mind मेरे subconscious चल ही रहता है कि कहाँ पे ये question ये पूछ सकता हूँ मैं, इस तरीके का. So in that front, how do you, when you are speaking, how do you gauge other person's perspective, या तो फिर आप मत ही करो वो चीज कि how do you gauge the room? Let's say if you're giving a keynote speech to a 500 seater auditorium, then how do you gauge the audience's like feel कि वो
the emotion, the feel, how's the audience responding and receiving all of that? There are 2 cues in it. Number 1 is there is a physical cue, जो आपको फिजिकली समझ में आ जाएगा कि वो ऑडियंस रिस्पॉन्ड कर रहा है, आप जोक मार रहे हो वो हंस रहा है, आप कुछ सीरियस बात कर रहे हो वो शांति है, वो मरमर कर रहा है पीछे में बैठ के. Those are physical cues that you can easily pick up as a speaker. Second, what I get is a vibe. I get to understand, and this is something thoda relatively inexplainable, but I understand if someone is listening to me or not listening to me. Physical cues का भी accumulation हो जाता है, but that vibe with experience kind of come in. The hack that I can provide you, कि अगर आपको hack इसको करना है, is you ask the audience a question. whatever it is. Ki raise your hand, get them to do something physical. Raise your hand, keep your hand down, whatever it is. Once that happens, because the audience gets involved, फिर वो speaker को देखते हैं कि speaker क्या बोल रहा है. That way you get their attention back, and then you can get back to the conversation, whatever you're having. So that's how I look at it.
And when you are having one-on-one conversation, like, or let's say only 3-4 people, then how do you go about it? Like, you have to say this A, B, C and D thing, then वो effectively किस तरह communicate हो जाए, तो उसके लिए आप क्या करते हो? पहले one-on-one कर लेते हैं, and then about a group of 5 to 10 people उसके लिए. तो one-on-one conversation, how do you approach in that way कि you are effectively communicating to that person?
Is it a podcast, or is it just like a normal conversation I'm having with someone?
Normal conversation, and in interview process also, because you do town halls at Tagmango.
Correct.
So वो दोनों चीज के अंदर.
So a large part of being involved in the conversation and making the other person feel important is what you said, right? Which is listening. So आप सवाल करो, etc., whatever the questions are. It's like the run up to what you want to talk about. So if you want to talk about, let's say, machines, so you have asked them 4 questions around machines, let's say. Depends from context, depends from relationship, a lot of different things, but this is how I would approach it. You ask them questions, get their opinion, and then you effectively say that, okay, this is what I wanted to convey, A, B, C, D points in that one-on-one conversation itself. And the more you show that you're involved in terms of what the other person is saying and interested, वो automatically आपका conversation को बहुत ज़्यादा improve कर देगा. I'll give you a podcasting/conversation hack as well. There is something called mirroring as a term. Mirroring, have you heard of mirroring?
Yeah.
So there is mirroring as a term. What does mirroring do in terms of conversation? Ki, let's say you said a sentence. Just say a random sentence.
कि Divyanshu, you went for a trekking?
Yeah. So Divyanshu, you went for trekking. Okay. So rather, this is directed towards me. So let's say you're saying a sentence in terms of an opinion. Hey, I read this book and this is what I learned from it. So in terms of mirroring, I will just pick up the last 3 to 4 words and I say, oh, this is what you learned from it. So the person says, yeah, this is what I learned from it. And then he continues to keep talking about A, B, C, D things. And then he says that this is the outcome from it. And then you say, oh, so this is what the outcome from it is. And you add an exclamation or a question. The person feels that they're already, and you do it genuinely, you don't just do it for the sake of mirroring as a hack. They will, authenticity सबसे important है. बोले दिव्यांशु हैक बताया है, हम सबको जाके रास्ते में भैया पूछ रहे हैं कि रास्ता क्या है. अच्छा भैया यहाँ से रास्ता है.
वो नहीं चलेगा.
वो नहीं चलेगा. Authentically आप करो. Other person automatically feels more involved in the conversation. And they will respond, and you'll build a much better relation and have a much deeper conversation with that person. Same thing can be used in a 3 to 4 person conversation. अगर आप बार वो कर रहे हो, in terms of mirroring is just one communication hack, but just being interested. Don't look at like basic things. Don't look at your phone. I hate it when anyone looks at their phone when they're talking to someone. Like I genuinely hate it. Like why would you do that? Can't you just switch off? Even keeping your phone on the table is a distraction. Why would you keep it? These are all etiquettes that you do in terms of conversation, which conveys to the other person how important I feel this particular conversation is for me, or this particular person is for me. And the more important you make that other person feel, the better the outcome of that conversation will be.
And ये phone वाला तो मुझे भी, I lose my shit when they are like, हाँ मैं ये सिर्फ काम कर रहा हूँ, अब आप बोलते जाओ. आई एम लाइक ओके ठीक है, मैं बोल रहा हूँ. बट जो जिस तरीके से वहां पे, क्योंकि मेरे माइंड में ना वो मेंटल स्विच ऑफ हो जाता है, जो मैं एक्साइटेड से मैं बोल रहा था वो सडनली स्टॉप हो गया. देन आई एम जस्ट स्पीकिंग, आई एम लेटिंग हर नो कि हाँ ये चीज ऐसा ऐसा हुआ, वो सब हुआ. देन इट जस्ट डाइज डाउन, इंटरेस्ट ऑफ द कन्वर्सेशन जस्ट डाइज डाउन, कि होल अटेंशन जो मिलना चाहिए वो नहीं मिला. जो आई टू आई कॉन्टेक्ट होकर बात होती है उसका कुछ मजा ही अलग होता है, राइट?
इन टर्म्स ऑफ बात करने की मजा तो अलग ही है, वो तो सही बात है.
हाँ वही. In terms of like for me, because I want to मैं week in week out ये करता हूँ. So like and I am doubling down on like what are you optimizing for, जो आपने आंसर बोला था प्रोसेस का, मेरा ये है this year कि I want to optimize for skills, कि जो मेरी majorities of skills है मैं उसको improve करूंगा, and my life and my whole environment will be revolved around it. कि अगर let's say I want to improve my public speaking, then ये मेरे routine में ये चीज होनी ही चाहिए उस हिसाब से, then I'm planning my whole year around this only. So पैसे भी उसी तरीके से आएगा, XYZ other things also. So in terms of public speaking, what do you prefer? It is selfishly I'm asking for myself only, that if I want to improve my podcasting skills, I'm watching Joe Rogan a lot, all those things, but उसमें क्या हो जाता है ना, मेरा वो podcast दिमाग मेरा on हो जाता है, and then I'm like, oh, I can use this, I can use this, I can use this. और वो जो रोगन जो बात कर रहा है जिस तरीके से, वो सब में उसमें मेरा ध्यान कम चला जाता है, उसने किस वे में वो कॉन्वर्सेशन को ले गया, या तो फिर लेक्स फ्रीडमैन किस कॉन्वर्सेशन ले गया, उसने क्या पूछा, उसमें नो हाउ में चला जाता है. तो कैन यू रेकमेंड सम ऑफ द स्पीचेस और जो आपकी फेवरेट है, सम ऑफ द टेड टॉक्स, कि इसके ऊपर देखो, यू कैन गेट सम ऑफ द आइडियाज कि यहाँ से आप सीख सकते हो पब्लिक स्पीकिंग, अबाउट पब्लिक स्पीकिंग.
Some of the good podcasts and study material, listening to good speeches, for example, Abraham Lincoln's speech. One of the speeches that is one of my favorites is, there's this Obama speech where I think he just won the presidential election, and then he's giving this speech. There are a lot of good speeches on the internet. Listening to these good speeches, understanding them in terms of why a certain person place, how is his voice modulation in terms of getting the crowd excited. So the more you kind of ask these questions across a lot of these different things, that further will give you an insight about how you can also improve communication. So Obama's speech, this one, what is another good speech that I lately heard? The good ones in terms of the all-time favorite ones, you can definitely hear, be it what Martin Luther King says, or any of these speeches you can pick up, and there's a bunch of them out there. In terms of TED Talks or any such things on public speaking, let me remember a good speech, a good TED Talk on public speaking. It's been a while I've seen a TED Talk on public speaking.
Na, in general, कोई public speaking की like 15 minutes slot, but he has narrated his story so well. In TED Talk in general, कोई भी TED Talk चलेगा.
There's a lot of them. There's one TED Talk where there's a TED Talk called I forgot it. Basically, How to Face Rejection was the name of the TED Talk by Jia Zhang, and he talks about how he ran this social experiment जहाँ पे वो every day he went out to get rejected by people. And then he talks about that how on the fourth day, instead of getting that rejection, he effectively was able to kind of come out of it. So it's an interesting one. The second one is The Mind of a Master Procrastinator करके एक TED Talk है. I forgot the guy's name who was giving this talk, but it's a great way to understand how you integrate humor into a speech in order to encapsulate your audience. So that's the second good TED Talk that you can watch. A third good TED Talk is Simon Sinek ones is good in terms of starting from why. There's one on school skilling creativity. These are the common ones that you see. These are the top ones as well. And the fifth one is you can watch Divyanshu Damani's TED Talks, and that's an integration. I mean, I've done 4 TED Talks so far. Yeah. I don't even connect to the guy who did those TED Talks now, to be honest. It's been 3 years since I've done those TED Talks. But now I'm excited to go back on stage. I was recently on stage like a month ago. And I felt that, yeah, the stage is where I belong. So I should possibly do more stage appearances this year. So yeah, those are 3 good TED Talks that you can check out.
And on content creation side, like how are you content production, किस तरीके से आप plan out कर रहे हो उसके अंदर कि this is the process that we will use to churn out this amount of content? Because I'm saying कि Instagram is the most active platform as of right now, कि आप Instagram you are doubling down a lot rather than other platforms.
Yeah. Correct. I mean, I've started out. So this week I have laid out a quarter strategy on this.
Okay.
कि अगर हम साथ में सबको activate करने जाएगा, then everything will flop. So this entire week, I'm planning to optimize on Instagram, and all my content for January will be ready for Instagram. I'll take out a lot of content from this podcast too, and I do a lot more of these interactions because this allows me to think on my feet, get experiences out, etc., etc. Apart from just doing the reels that I'm doing. So Instagram is optimized for this week. Then I'll pick up on another platform. That'll be Twitter. LinkedIn is next week when I'll try and optimize for. And I want to come to a place that every month's content is prepared before that entire month, apart from reactive content, which is something happening on real time. Both it'll keep coming on as they come. But each month's content needs to be prepared 1 month in advance, and I'll batch it together because I don't want to keep spending time on creating content.
Yeah.
I will document more of it in terms of these speeches that I go to and all of the interactions like these that I kind of do. It saves up some time and it consolidates it. And rest of the time, if 1 week is spent on creating content, rest of the time I'm focused completely on the business.
Right. And let me ask you your favorite question. What's your why behind creating content?
What's my why behind creating content?
अभी के लिए कि जो आप वापस से चालू कर रहे हो. So what's your why behind this?
So to be honest, I feel I'm made for content.
Okay.
I really have a strong knack for content. I know that I can write really well. I love reading a lot. Like, you give me any place and time, and instead of watching a show, I'll prefer to read. So I'm one of those nerds, but I've never been a nerd in my life. But I love reading a lot. I love consuming information, and I love sharing that information in a structured way because if I can give, so दुनिया में पैसों की कमी नहीं है, दुनिया में पावर की कमी नहीं है, दुनिया में फेम की कमी नहीं है. जो कमी है वो है पर्सपेक्टिव की. If I'm able to provide that perspective to anyone through any new video of mine, and that allows them to live their life a little better than what they were living previously, then I think it's one of the biggest things and the biggest blessings of my life and what I can do with it. And the gift of communicating that's been given to me. And the gift of having all these opportunities to also consume information in the way I do, I should use it to share it as much as I can. So that's just the idea of creating content for me. Of course, it helps with the brand. Of course, it helps with capital. Of course, it helps on the company side. But if you ask me my core motivation, it's that.
और मैं आपको बोलने वाला था कि जितने भी आपने व्हाट इज टैगमैंगो वो क्रिएटर पैड जब लॉन्च हुआ था तब जो वीडियो बनाए थे, यू आर वेरी नेचुरल ऑन कैमरा. आई थिंक हाँ
I get that a lot, yeah.
तो आई एम फीलिंग लाइक कि हाँ ये कैमरा चालू हो जाएगा और ये आदमी बोलने लगेगा बस अभी. हाँ तो आई थिंक ये सही है ना. हाँ सो वो जो सारे वीडियोस है लाइक द मैड वीडियोस राइट, जो जितने भी वीडियो. हाँ सो लाइक हाउ डू लाइक व्हाट वाज द प्लानिंग बिहाइंड. मुझे ये वीडियो बहुत पसंद आया, व्हाट इज टैगमैंगो वाला, जो अभी रिसेंटली पारितोष आनंद के साथ आप लोगों ने शूट किया था. हाँ So like how do you guys set up and what's the process of it?
The process of coming up with those videos?
हाँ वो story सुना, वो particularly वो वीडियो की.
पर कौन सा वाला जो लेटेस्ट जो प्रोडक्ट वीडियो था, व्हाट इज टैगमैंगो, एंड देन वी आर गिविंग द प्रोडक्ट डेमो.
हाँ वो जहाँ पे
कि व्हाट इज टैगमैंगो जो स्टार्टिंग हॉरर वाला से स्टार्ट होता है, व्हाट इज टैगमैंगो नाइटमेयर से उठता है.
हाँ नाइटमेयर से उठता है वो वाला.
So that was one of the biggest questions you used to get asked कि what is टैगमैंगो सबको पूछते रहते थे, क्योंकि we had the creator pad, there were multiple lines of communication and conversation that was going on. So we said that, okay, how do I keep it simply and even engage the customer as well, जो possible customer है मेरा. And simultaneously, because we had that previous hit video जिसमें हमने creator pad को launch किया था, that got 1 million views on Instagram, all organic, which was really great for a lot of creators kind of shared that. So we continued that as the narrative कि ये एक दिव्यांशु का alter ego बन गया है और एक दिव्यांशु असली में है, और वो alter ego ही आके सारा ज्ञान देता है in terms of what is टैगमैंगो and what needs to be done and what do we do, etc. And we have a lot of fun in those scripts. So we first, how do we go about it? First, we decide on the problem statement to be sought for. Once we've identified that, then we think of a cool concept. And those concepts can be, then there is like brainstorming. सबको ये आ जाते हैं. Those are the most fun like sessions in terms of concept design. ये भी कर सकते, ये भी कर सकते, ये भी कर सकते. Mad ideas we get. We get ideas of Hassan was in Dubai. We said Hassan को दुबई में skydive करते वक्त बोलेंगे वो Tagmango समझाते वक्त. So these are ideas we get in terms of our marketing meetings. Wow. So we narrow down upon one of these ideas and say, okay, let's execute it in this way. And then we improvise on the spot as well. Of course, there's a script that's written and we follow that. But then we improvise a lot on the spot. Ki, oh, ye bhi kar sakte, ye bhi add kar sakte. We're very open overall in terms of execution. And then you see the final product. So that's the simple side of the process. Paritosh, I would have to recommend, I think he does incredible work, him and his team, in terms of thinking around innovating and writing those scripts and documenting it. And he has a very strong hold of music, where to use music, how to use that. So of course he has the mind of a cinema person. So finding the right team to work with also makes a lot of difference.
In reading, कैसे आपका reading process क्या है? किस तरीके का है? आप किस तरीके का, like you drop books very quickly or you consume it? क्या रहता है आपका? रैंडम सवाल हो गए मेरे रीडिंग के बारे में, क्योंकि मुझे जानना है रीडिंग.
पूछ जरूर पूछ, एकदम पूछ. रीडिंग इज वन ऑफ माय फेवरेट टॉपिक्स. तो जिस पे मैं बात करना चाहता हूँ. So reading, my process, bro, is firstly allocate a time during the day, whatever the time works for you. You have to read, maybe a blog post, whatever it is. You have to read something. और ये hard fast rule नहीं है कि आपको read करना ही होगा. It's about consuming information. Now, if you're better in terms of reading and consuming information or listening and consuming information, you do that. But the same information needs to be consumed and understood. Like I don't have something ki, for me, I'm a reader, not a listener. I don't ask my team ki bhai aap mere ko bol ke kuch samjhao, please write me everything and send to me. So that's something you have to know for your own self, what works for you. In terms of my process, there's an allocated time that I have to read. So usually when I wake up, before even meditating, I would read something. Something that I would read. Usually it's a spiritual text that I would read in terms of some life lesson that I can gain from it. Then there is usually around 8 a.m.-ish is when I pick up the book, and I would either read all kind of business news and all of that. And towards the night, before I go to bed, is when I mainly read anything that I'd like to read, be it fiction, business, whatever it is, autobiography, all of that. So one, you have to find and allocate that time. And second, in terms of reading, अगर आप कभी reading किए नहीं हो, then you start off with something that inspires you. I recommend 2-3 books. I've even made a video on it, where जो छोटा-छोटा simple books होता है, which is more story driven because you're automatically more interested. There is one called Jonathan Livingstone's Nightingale. छोटा सा book है, 1 घंटे में खत्म हो जाएगा. But it gives you that accomplishment that you've completed a book. There's another one called Who Moved My Cheese. Again, छोटा सा book है, 100 पेज का है. It's a very cool story about 4 rats and फिर कोई change आ जाता है उनकी जिंदगी में, वो कैसे adapt और evolve करते हैं. Again, like those are the kind of books that you can kind of read. And then as you keep on progressing, you kind of pick up on bigger, maybe heavier books overall. And third thing for me, if you just ask me my process, I don't usually read start to end. ये book start किया, I will end it with this. Unless and until it's not fiction or an autobiography. Autobiographies I usually read start to end. But if it's non-fiction, I'll pick up this book today, they'll pick up that book, and it entirely depends on my mood. So I might pick up a spiritual book, I might pick up a business book, or if there is a problem that I'm trying to solve for, I will specifically look at that book and try to pick that up and read it. So that further intrigues me also to find that solution for myself.
And do you read multiple books at one point of time?
Yeah, I read multiple books at the same point of time.
Okay. So मेरे साथ ये प्रॉब्लम आ रही है इसके अंदर कि now let's say because I as you said कि कोई प्रॉब्लम आ रहा है उसके हिसाब से, तो मुझे प्रॉब्लम आ रहा था कि ये एजेंसी पार्ट ऑफ ऑल ऑफ थिंग को, तो मैं उसके अराउंड में एक बुक पढ़ रहा हूँ. सडनली स्टॉप किया, हाँ ठीक है चलो अभी इसमें ये हो गया, देन आई एम गोइंग टू अ डिफरेंट डायरेक्शन एंड आई एम रीडिंग काइंड ऑफ अ सेपियंस काइंड ऑफ बुक, वो पूरा एक अलग ही हो गया जोन, वो हिस्ट्री काइंड ऑफ हो गया ये सब. सो डू यू फील कि वो जो ओवर क्रॉस ऑफ फील्ड्स हो रही है डिफरेंट, फिर मैं जाके पढ़ रहा हूँ रेंज पढ़ रहा हूँ लेट्स से, देन आई एम रीडिंग अ फिक्शन अ मैन कॉल्ड ओव, तो ये चार पांच हो गया एंड दे आर नॉट इंटरकनेक्टेड और एनीवेयर कि वो कुछ डिफरेंट फील्ड से ही है, मैं इन्फ्लुएंस पढ़ रहा हूँ, फिर मैं नेवर स्प्लिट द डिफरेंस पढ़ रहा हूँ. सो तब आपको ऐसा हो जाता है कि ये थोड़ा ओवरलोड होता है, तो वो जब आप मल्टीपल बुक्स पढ़ रहे होते हो तब लाइक व्हाट यू फॉलो कि फिर वो वहां पे भी एक रैंडमनेस ही है कि
Randomness, it brings us back to the same conversation we were having,
हाँ.
right? Suggestions can be brought about from anything. So हो सकता है you've read something from influence which becomes connected with your fiction book. हो सकता है you've read something from the agency book that gets connected with XYZ that you're reading, right?
हाँ.
So you don't necessarily, there's no hard and fast rule. I don't believe so. I believe in consuming knowledge and breaking that knowledge into wisdom that can be applied to my life. If I'm looking to solve something specific, then maybe I will read that entire book because I'm looking for a particular answer which is technically solved by someone else. And मैं उसको consume करके अपने life या अपने business में integrate करके I can build on top of that. But if not that, then कोई teacher तो नहीं खड़ा है कि ये स्कूल का टेक्स्ट बुक है कि आपको यही पढ़ना होगा, आप खत्म नहीं करोगे तब तक, नहीं तो छड़ी मारेंगे. That's not true. That's not true. So you effectively consume knowledge, break it down into wisdom, whatever you're reading.
तब लाइक हाँ, अभी आपने जब आंसर बोला तब मुझे पता चला कि आई एम पुटिंग अ लॉट ऑफ प्रेशर ऑन कि जो भी उठा रहा हूँ वो बहुत बड़ी वैल्यू निकालता ही रहूँ, तो वो उसमें शायद से मुझे ऐसा हो रहा है, वो लाइक फीलिंग लाइक बुक पकड़ने से पहले मुझे ऐसा होता है कि अगर कुछ नहीं निकला तो आई फील लाइक आई एम वेस्टेड माई टाइम, बट दैट्स नॉट द केस जो यूजुअली मेरे साथ.
Wasted effort.
हाँ,
Wasted effort, brother.
वेस्टेड एफर्ट, या ट्रू.
Anything that you read, you don't know where the insight will be used. You never
हाँ.
know. वो
हाँ.
बाद में ही डॉट्स कनेक्ट होगा, फिर वो स्टीव जॉब्स का कोट इंसर्ट कर दे यहाँ पे.
नाइस. सो
कंटेंट वाला दिमाग ही चलते रहते हैं मेरा.
हाँ, वही वही. तो मेरा भी ना, आप जब बात कर रहे थे कोई कोई बार आपने 3.5 बोला ना, तो मेरे माइंड में वो चलता रहा कि हाँ ये वाले आंसर जो दे रहा है वो रील निकाल दूंगा मैं पहले से ही,
हाँ वो
लिख
तो
दूंगा.
फुल, अरे हमको पता है कौन सा रील निकालना है इससे.
हाँ हाँ, वो बैक ऑफ द माइंड मेरे यही चल रहा है, राइट.
ऑल द टाइम.
हाँ. एंड व्हाट आर यू रीडिंग राइट नाउ, कौन सी बुक पढ़ रहे हो आप?
सो आई एम रीडिंग दिस बुक, यहाँ पे HBR at 100.
ओके.
So these are I think the best articles in the Harvard Business Review over the last 100 years. So that's what HBR at 100 is. So this is one book I'm reading. Simultaneously, I picked up Gaurang Das book, The Art of Focus, just an accumulation of 40 odd stories that those are life lessons and also allow you how you can become more focused and again, more in control and sync in your life. And there's a third book that I am reading right now. I mean, I'm kind of reading it. It's another, again, spiritual text. I'm reading quite some spiritual text right now. It's if you know Neem Karoli Baba, there is Neem Karoli Baba. Virat Kohli was recently at his ashram as well. So Neem Karoli Baba's his autobiography. He's followed by Steve Jobs, Mark Zuckerberg when he was in India. Steve Jobs had the biggest impact on his life from Neem Karoli Baba. So I'm just like reading up experiences from his life because I was in that area and I got a lot of influence. I wanted to pick up and see what his life kind of looked like.
When you read spiritual stuff, right, because it enlightens your mind इस तरीके का, तो do you always follow कि जो आप पढ़ रहे हो उसमें से आपने सीखा वो तुरंत ही एक एक्शन में कन्वर्ट हो जाए, या यू थिंक अ लॉट ऑफ पहले आप बहुत सोचते हो कि ये अलाइन हो रहा है कि नहीं हो रहा है, बिकॉज व्हेन आई रीड अ स्पिरिचुअल टेक्स्ट लेट्स से, तो फिर कोई भी अब मेडिटेशंस में पढ़ लूँ मार्कस ऑरेलिस की, और आप वो कुछ बोल रहा है एंड इफ आई एम नॉट उसमें जो वो एक फिलोसॉफी काइंड ऑफ जो एक है वो आई थिंक वो कॉन्ट्राडिक्ट करती है जहाँ पे मैं इस स्टेज पे मेरी लाइफ को जी रहा हूँ, देन हाउ डू यू कॉन्फ्लिक्ट दैट माइंडसेट वर्सेस द बुक व्हाट इज टेलिंग यू कि बुक में ये बोल रहे हैं बट रियल काइंड ऑफ एनवायरनमेंट में ये माइंडसेट शायद से मैं किस तरीके से अडेप्ट कर पाऊंगा, क्योंकि मेरा पूरा एनवायरनमेंट चेंज करने का पड़ेगा उसके लिए, एंड देयर इज लॉट ऑफ फ्रिक्शन अटैच्ड टू इट। तो वो फिर वो कंफ्यूजन से आप कैसे लड़ते हो? क्योंकि ये मेरे साथ बहुत होता है कि मैं आई एम रीडिंग इट नाउ इनटू इम्प्लीमेंट इट, बट इम्प्लीमेंटेशन बहुत हार्ड है वो करने के लिए, एंड आई एम लाइक, और मैं प्रेशर आता था, आई एम लाइक चक इट, कोई बात नहीं, रहने देते हैं, धीरे से अगर आएगा तो वो आएगा। तो वो आप कैसे करते हो फिर?
So the word I'll use to answer that is contextualization. आपको उसको कॉन्टेक्स्ट में देखना होगा। अब आप there's this famous thing, अगर आप मंकी को बोलोगे कि आप give me a script by today evening, अगर आप हाथी को बोलोगे to climb a tree, you tell a fish to kind of, I don't know, do something random, it won't happen, right? It's very important in terms of contextualization of whatever you're reading, और आपके लाइफ में वो कैसे implement हो सकता है। Now once you contextualize it, कुछ चीज implement होंगे, कुछ चीज implement नहीं होंगे। And also one of the things I think about a lot is that, like, I want to read everything that's there out there, right? Even in terms, like, of course it's not possible, but every kind of perspective that I can garner through this life, I want to garner that. But I don't want to follow that perspective blindly.
No.
I want to create my own perspective after gaining that information and use my own cognitive thinking. ये जो beautiful gift भगवान ने मुझे दिया और हम सबको दिया है, उसको यूज करके, ब्रेक डाउन करके मेरे लाइफ में कैसे उसको इंटीग्रेट कर सके, I will do that. It's not necessary कि every lesson I take from what has been written in a certain book. So that is how I'm going to answer your question.
True. So I think on a closing note of this, जो मैं हमेशा अपने गेस्ट से पूछता हूँ कि जितने क्यूरियस होना क्यों जरूरी है? Why? How curiosity helps you?
If you're not curious, you're as good as dead. The entire existence of human beings is because we were curious. We were curious to see, can we fly? We were curious to see, can we maybe rub two stones and create fire out of it? We were curious to maybe see, let's say, let me plant a seed and see if I can grow crops in it, right? There's umpteen number of examples. Humanity will perish if we are not curious. And on more of our context, ये तो macro level context है, on a more micro level context, curiosity actually never kills the cat. It's not having curiosity which will kill it. So if you're not curious about most of the things in your life, be it professionally driven or personally driven, if you're not curious about knowing more about your, let's say, life partner, and what are the things they like, what are the things they don't like, etc. Curiosity है तभी तो पता करेंगे. If you're not curious in terms of your business, what is it I can solve for my own customer? What are the problems he or she faces? What is the market that I'm effectively going after? Then you'll not be able to do anything effectively, be it in a professional, as an entrepreneur, or as a working professional, or as a student, whatever it is. And even on a personal note, if you're not curious about asking the big questions of why am I here? What is God? What is really the meaning of it? What is this hand? ये हाथ क्या है? What is this hand? If I look up at the stars and see, ये हाथ क्या है? I mean, I don't get it. Then what's the fun in life? There's no fun in life. So I think that is the bedrock on the basis of which we exist. That's what curiosity is.
Right. Super cool. Thank you so much. Thank you so much,
Thanks,
Divyanshu.
Thanks, Utsav, for having me, brother. It was a pleasure on your show. I think you asked good questions. And I think you follow up well as well. Just keep articulating yourself better, and that will come with practice. A lot of your thoughts, I think, do you write?
Yeah.
Do you write?
Yeah.
Good. No, that's good, man. It was a good podcast. I enjoyed the conversation a lot.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you so much for doing this.
Awesome, man. It was a pleasure. Thanks, brother.